r/AskMen. Eccleshian Steele says, what ideology do you think is the most harmful to men today? 8bitten says, identity politics, in the sense of an extreme attachment to a set of labels. Be it conservative or liberal, a mental health auto-diagnostic LGBT plus labels. Internet has allowed us to be closer to people with exactly the same labels, and further from a more diverse community. People are ready to break ties with even their families over disagreements that should be natural. We seem to refuse to recognize their humanity in our neighbor. We assume every opinion different from ours is just evil. Noel Martin says, identity politics is just a form of what is called collective narcissism. 8bitten says, oh, I had never heard that concept. It is exactly what I was trying to say. Yes, thank you for the comment. Imminent Mailing 463 says, the Andrew Tate brand of masculinity seems horrifyingly popular amongst young men. Secondly, Urban says, social media alpha males speaking out of both sides of their ass. Somehow piously religious, but treat women and poor people like tools. John Elden Ring 51 says, I think Andrew Tate is a symptom, rather than the disease itself. Luigi 123A says, I thought this was a Rimworld post for a second. Lokithalica says, I'd like to see where you go with this. I'd tend to say ideologies that permit and promote war crimes. Luigi 123A says, definition a good one, but this is mostly harmful to men outside of your own nation. I'd say the blinding ideology goes pretty far. The only true way to showcase how manly you are being the act of taking your eyes out. In exchange now everyone will see you as the tough one. As the good porn. This is the right way to live. No sight to blind you from all these toxic pictures and thoughts out there, when in reality, you are solely being swallowed by an even bigger toxic bubble that no one can talk you out of, as any evidence now falls onto blind eyes and audio so easily faked. Kmalerboxer says, women are unsafe, while men can just walk at night without any worries. Men are more likely to be killed than a woman is, yeah, but it's by other men's stupid argument. That's inadvertently saying that the men being killed are the same as the kind of men that go out of their way to kill others. That's like me saying we shouldn't care about 9/11 when Americans kill each other at a much higher rate than any other foreign terrorist would. All of a sudden, I'll be seen as insane for saying that. Why? Because who is doing the killing doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's wrong to do. If your son, or insert male friend or relative, was murdered, your first instinct isn't to think it was another man that did it, so it doesn't matter as much. Your first instinct is to be emotional, and that something tragic happened. Yet, for some reason, I see people still use that as their first response when you actually disprove their narrative. Another argument I see people use is that society cares more about women victims suffering DV at the hands of male abusers because the murder rate is higher, which is true, but then in the same breath they will tell you that men are safe and privileged despite them being more likely to be murdered, assaulted, victims of police brutality, suicides, deaths in the workplace, etc. The same ones that are quick to talk about how, frick, up some men don't even realize that to some extent they are contributing it when at the first opportunity they get to shut down their struggles, they take it. Miller Chicken 4 says, then there are always those groups of people who say, you can't complain, because this society is built for men, completely disregarding your points. That you're getting a taste of your own medicine narrative is so stupid. Swimming Bag 7362 says, I once had a woman openly admit she doesn't want equality between men and women, she wants matriarchy. r/AskMen. Tramria Peniswa says, What crazy thing would you do without thinking about the consequences at 14 to 17 years old, and at 30 you would say to yourself, man, we don't need this. Future Armadillo 6410 says, break into explore homes under construction and hang out there with my friends. Sjmov says, nice try FBI. RiotHost92 says, too many things to choose from. Basically everything. Jerthahemus says, drinking should mix a little of everything from parents' liquor cabinets. Questioning Goyo Unbilling says, climbing onto the roofs of random buildings and then jumping between them. PNW Shredder says, anything that has been proven to not work and carries extreme risk, but tried regardless. Off the top of my head from those years are cardboard wings on a skateboard towed by a car, racing scooters down the steepest hill available, explosives, many types and best to skip details, fighting matches for fun, using icy hot on your balls and a few other things that is better to not talk about. Dawn Quillen says, hitchhiking to a rock music festival across 3 states with barely any money and a tent that had seen better days. Seemed like the ultimate adventure until we ran into a freak storm. Looking back, the danger of being stranded, broke, or worse was pretty high, but it's one of those stories now that always starts with you won't believe this one time when. Lina Ken says, jumped off a bridge into the river on a dare because it seemed like the ultimate rush at the time. Reflecting on it now, between the unpredictable currents and hidden rocks, I'm just lucky to be here to chuckle about my youthful indiscretions. Balladit Mora Raven says, unprotected sex. I was a wild teen. Luckily never had a kid out of wedlock. Wild Court says, drive the back roads at night going twice the legal limit because I like driving fast and am too stupid to think about what might happen if I screw up or get caught by the cops. Clarice DeMattis says, sneaking into the local drive-in by hiding in the trunk of a friend's car. The thrill of getting caught was part of the excitement, but in hindsight, a claustrophobic nightmare waiting to happen. Plus, I missed half the movie trying to subtly crawl out without being noticed by security. Definitely one of those seemed like a good idea at the time memories. Rhubarb P22 says, I would have sex in inappropriate, public places. Vimes Left Boots says, a big fat blunt. Bredif says, jump off of things. Between 14 to 17 it was normal for me to jump off garages, fences, cars, out of windows etc without a second thought. Now in my 30s I haven't had any major injuries or broken bones, but I double take before leaping off of a curb. I don't know when the shift happened. Late Judge 5288 says, nothing really. I didn't have friends as a teenager, so my days pretty much consisted of either being at school or reading, watching TV, or on my computer at home. I'm now a young adult in my 20s, and I often look back on that time regretting not having done anything. Everyone who's commented here seems to have fun stories of trespassing or going on joyrides, or having sex in random places. It does get to me that I missed out on those experiences. I do think I would have enjoyed all that as a teen in high school. When I tell people that I wish I had friends during that time and that it depresses me that I missed out on all those fun wild experiences, they tell me, you're still young. You can do that you missed out on then now. But the fact of the matter is that being 16 and trespassing with your buddies is fun. Even if you're caught, you'll probably just be warned and that's it. At 21, all the people I know are either busy with college, work, or their girlfriends. And if you were to be caught at my age, you'd be charged, be forced to pay a fine, and maybe even go to court. If anyone's reading this, and you're under 18, have fun and be safe. You're only a kid once. Seize the moment. But again, I had no friends. So, it is what it is I guess. r/AskMen. Responsible Yamp 5788 says, people who asked for a pencil every single day in school. How is life going for you? Upset Combination 727 says, I'd love to give you the long version, but my phone's about to die. Can I borrow your charger? ZenFrog80 says, I became an accountant, but I'm really bad at it, TBH. Dadis says, I almost failed out of high school and I'll have an MBA in 8 months. I'm in management making $90K a year. The smartest kid with the best grades in my graduating class dropped out of college after 1 semester and died of a heroin overdose about 3 years ago. It's not about who gets the head start or best grades, it's about who has the grit to push through. And I'm a stubborn son of a biatch. Zarkoni says, the smartest kid in my class went to an Ivy League school and from what he tells me skimmed by and now works at a hedge fund making around $250K, so I guess it's situational. Tenamonth says, hey man, can I borrow your charger? Wes Brink says, I'm an engineer in an oil refinery. Still can't find my damned pens though. Dedifat Knuckles says, I'm a software engineer now, so I don't really need a pencil for my job anymore. R4Ivix says, I'm now selling the pencils for an increased profit. Juicer Calculator says, I carry multiple pens and sharpers with me at all times. Most of my jeans have ink stains. Goodlad033 says, I had finished school, bachelor's and master's, and doing fine at work. I always knew that nobody cares about your grades, as long you have the certificate, you are fine. So I never cared too much about having the best grade. Remember guys, the second place is the first loser. Beguine Dakota says, I still don't have a pencil. Satellita GD says, I have to ask my wife for a pen every time I need to endorse a check, and I have purchased many pairs of nail clippers that no longer exist. They have been lost to the void. Honestly, I lose everything, and I don't know how. Planner Performance 2795 says, surprisingly I'm doing way better in university than I ever did in high school. I did have to focus up a little though. Orbit86 says, great, I saved up all of my pencil money I would have spent and bought 30,000 shares of Bitcoin when it was 9 cents a share. So to everyone who gave me a pencil from kindergarten through college graduation, thanks. Jobin says, still ask the responsible people at work for pencils, the time, what's coming up on our schedule, to help me remember to do the annual filings, etc. But people like me, and I'm a very creative problem solver, so I keep getting good jobs. Was very successful in law school, but got kicked off law review for not doing a good enough job correcting other people's errors. That's literally the thing I'm the worst at. But if you need a shitty first draft, or a new approach to a stubborn problem, I'm your guy. And I'm low anxiety, even when things are crazy. That's why I don't worry about bringing pencils with me, although it's often a pain in the ass for the people who remember to be responsible adults. But they mostly bear with me. Imzoraram Hamster says, not frick, I'm well buddy. Outside Poet 3597 says, now I ask for pence. Powerful Insurance 9 says, shithouse. You called it. Brilliant Slide 7947 says, amazing. 30 years later, and my pencil collection has grown to biblical proportions. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.